Alright, welcome back to another episode of Dave Makes Food. The weather's really cooling off lately, so it's time to start breaking out the soup recipes. Here's what we're going to need to make today's soup, and we're going to make about 4 liters. Cut the ginger and garlic into small pieces. I don't mince them because I like to taste them individually in different bites. Dice the carrots, onion, and bell pepper. Then we can get our soup going. Add a couple tablespoons of olive oil to your soup pot and turn it to medium-high. Then add all your chopped vegetables. Add some salt and pepper, as well as a few bay leaves. Cook everything together until the edges just start to lightly brown. Ginger, garlic, and onions really develop a more intense flavor and aroma when cooked on high heat and oil. Once the edges begin to brown, add in your chicken. I'm using leftover chicken thighs, but literally any kind of chicken is fine here. Any kind with bones will make a richer, more flavorful broth. Raw chicken is fine too. I like to keep the chicken in larger pieces and pick all the meat off later, but that's just my personal preference. After a few minutes, add in 2 liters of chicken stock or water. I'm going to recommend always having some stock on hand, even if it's instant. Using water as a base generally results in the need to overspice or season to compensate for the lack of flavor, whereas using stock guarantees a rich and comforting soup without having to go heavy on the seasoning. Add in 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. Then leave it to boil. You can cover it with a lid, but I kinda like having my house smell like delicious soup. If you leave it uncovered, you'll have to add water to maintain the liquid level every so often. Okay, time to prep the kale. Cut the leafy parts into sections about 2 inches wide. Separate the leafy parts, since they don't take as long to cook as the stems. Then cut the stems into sections about 1 to 1.5 inches wide. They're definitely not great to eat raw, but they break down in texture really nicely when boiled. I don't use the last few inches of the stems because they can get really fibrous. Give the stems a good wash and throw them directly into the soup. And wash the leaves and set them aside for later. After boiling for 30 minutes, your soup should look something like this. The broth is beginning to look rich and delicious, and the chicken is not quite as soft as I like mine for soup. Add in your can of rinsed white beans and boil for another 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, the broth is looking even richer and the chicken should be ready. Remove the chicken and put it in the fridge to cool. It shouldn't be falling apart, but you should be able to pick off strings without resistance. The soup has been boiling for a total of 45 minutes at this point. Add in your kale and boil for the last 15. Replenish with water whenever necessary to keep the total volume around 4 liters. After those last 15 minutes of boiling, your soup should be ready. And all that's left to do is shred your chicken meat into the soup. It should come off the bones very easily but not be falling apart. That's the best texture in my opinion. Give it a taste for seasoning. And serve immediately at maximum heat, as soup should be served in my opinion. Garnish with some fresh parsley. And that's how you make my chicken, kale, and white bean soup. An incredibly healthy, delicious, budget-friendly, and hearty soup recipe that should be in everyone's repertoire. This one is definitely on the light and comforting end of flavors, using chicken stock, ginger, garlic, and dried herbs as the main flavors in the soup. The beans add body and creaminess, and the other vegetables add natural sweetness and texture to the soup. The kale doesn't really add any noticeable flavor, but along with the beans it turns the soup into a filling meal. Now I'm probably going to get asked if you can make a vegetarian version of this, and I'm going to give my honest opinion. You definitely can make a vegetarian version, and I love vegetables, but there's just something about vegetable broth that's not very comforting or fulfilling to eat. Whereas chicken stock is the ultimate comfort flavor and soup starter if you ask me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please click like and consider subscribing to my channel. I will be posting a new video every single day. As always, I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.